can't believe I did that and my health. I can't believe I did that, and now I raised a daughter.
Everybody has the unconscious, and many people don't realize that that's what's limiting their growth.
It looked like a movie set. Sirens all over the place, people just pointing, screaming. As we were discussing that, the first one came down.
Welcome to Keep Hustling with. Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Craig Sotkovsky. Craig, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Aaron. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
We have a lot to talk about, but I'm going to begin with gratitude. Every single time I am blessed to have someone who served this country come onto this podcast or whose relative served this country, I begin with thanks. But you, sir, you personally helped me. As you know, I am the NY Risk Advisor. I was born and raised in the borough of Manhattan. I was born on September 9th, 1987. I lived my entire life until I went to college on 2nd Avenue between 87th and 88th Street. There are a few days that I remember as vividly as September 11th, 2001. More vividly, I remember September 12th, 2001. There was nobody on the streets of Manhattan. While I was sitting in my apartment staring south 88 blocks and seeing the cloud of smoke, you were volunteering and responding there. And the sacrifice that you've made knows no bounds. And so I would like to begin this episode by thanking you for that sacrifice. I never read bios to begin episodes. I'm going to ask everybody to stop and read your bio. But I'm going to read the blurb, and then we're going to get into it. I am a human behavioralist, international speaker, business mentor, entrepreneur, author, mentor, 9/11 volunteer responder, cancer survivor, and father. You seem to be emotional based on how I open this episode. So I'd like to ask you, and this is going to be a unique episode, I promised our listeners. I'd like to know about you driving, or how you got, or what your thoughts were, or how you ended up at the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001.
So I wasn't actually there on September 11th, right? I was downtown Jersey City, and I was coming out of one of my houses I was renovating at the time on First Street, downtown Jersey City. When I was walking out in the morning, I looked towards the river because I was walking that way, and saw one of the towers on fire. And I immediately went around the corner to my other house. We were in the process of selling these two houses because we were doing a destination wedding in October 27th, 2001 in Florida. So I went and got my fiance at the time, who was a photographer. And I was like, look, come on, let's. I was like, get your stuff, man. We got to go, And she's like, what's going on? She could hear the fire and sirens and all of that stuff. And it was like, I don't know, the World Trade Center is on fire. Now, I laugh at a lot of things, and it's just to break tension, I guess. It's just my makeup.
Just for the record, I was in school that day. I was in the 8th grade. And when they came to get us and put us into the security protocol of putting us in the basement, in the gym, the entire school, we all thought it was a joke. So I don't laugh at it as well, but at the moment, I totally understand the feeling, because it was the literal definition of surreal and impossible. So I totally get your perspective at that moment. Totally get it. We thought it was some idiot who didn't know how to fly. Like, how do you hit a building? We didn't know what terrorism was on our shores.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hear that.
So I went and got her, and we started walking down, and I noticed that both were on fire, and we were just like, it was very surreal because it looked like a movie set. Sirens all over the place, people just pointing, screaming. So we got down to the river, and we're just watching, and my fiance is like, "So what do you think's gonna happen?" And I was like, "I I don't know. I think the top part of that's gonna fall over and hit a bunch of buildings or whatever." And as we were discussing that, the first one came down, and my my daughter's mom has these pictures in sequence. These buildings is the first one is coming down, and you know, cops, firemen screaming, cops on his bullhorn, get out of the way. Everybody's got to go because nobody knew what was going to happen. Right on the side of the river, and we ended up walking back uh, down the street to go to Liberty State Park, and it was a little cutaway going to Liberty State Park. So as we were in the middle of walking the street going to Liberty State Park, the second one came down, and she's got the same thing. And it had to be like, I don't know the time frame, half hour, 45 minutes, hour, or whatever. People started coming by boat and getting off, and people, screaming hysterical, people just covered in white ash, bleeding, and all of that stuff. And I just told her, I was like, look, I got to get over there, man. I've been in construction my whole life, and I'd rather be there. I mean, I run machines, burn steel. I've been a carpenter and mason my whole life. Been on apartment building projects. Part of the team that built the battleship Missouri Pier at Pearl Harbor, and so I've been in construction my whole life. And getting over there was kind of like an adventure, because obviously that day was done. Everything was closed. So everybody's just lined up along the river, and everybody's just like, like, what is going on? Boats are coming over, people are getting off, and as guys are getting off boats, everybody's clapping, and everybody's like attempting to help these guys, wash them down, take cloths and water, and giving them water and all of that. And it was like this little thing down by Exchange Place in Jersey City, um, and the next day I attempted to go over there. And what happened was I got on one boat and we went down to Battery Park. And Battery Park, right? When it's on the
Hmm.
end,
Hmm.
gotta make sure. Um,
You haven't
and-
gone that long. We're not going to let you out.
yeah, but I'm telling you, my mind is shot sometimes. Now, like recalling, it's a process. Um, so we tried to get off, and Coast Guards were like, "You guys ain't getting off here." And we had to turn around. And as we turned around in a boat, I just looked back and I noticed, and I know I have this picture, and it was really wild to see a baby carriage just sitting at on the sidewalk of the park, or concrete of the park, and everybody was just like, "Holy shit!" Like, could you imagine like what somebody, mom or nanny or whatever, is thinking to snatch this kid out of the carriage and run like hell, right? And that was pretty interesting. Get back, get back, and that was it. It was done. Nobody's going over. It was like, all the stories. Everything is closed. Nobody's going over. And I only lived a few blocks away, so came back the next day, and I had brought my Tyvek suit because I had this white Tyvek suit on. Been in construction, like I said, and I brought my respirator. And as people were coming off again, right? Um, One guy sat down. He had a hard hat. I snatched that. Another guy came off, right, and had a that orange vest thing. I snatched that. Because I was figuring nobody's gonna need this stuff. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew it was gonna be difficult. And so somebody turned around. And they were like, "Yo, you get on," and I was just like, "All right, cool." So I get on his boat, and I'm wondering, like, what are all of these buckets for? I mean, thousands of buckets, man. And I was just like, what is this for? And as we are going across, guys like, listen, man, this guy's been there for a couple days. You got to keep your shit wired tight because nobody wants to hear, "Oh my God, ooh ah," and none of this stuff. And we started looking at each other like, what are we getting ourselves involved in, right? But gung ho, pushing, and we got to the other side, and it was where the marina was. And it had already started, like as soon as we got off, we're looking around and it already started looking like a mall. There was just containers and like whatever you could use for a catastrophic event, it was already start coming in. I mean, things were just coming in, man. And so I was told to grab the bucket. So I had this whole big pile of buckets in front of me, right? And I'm walking and I'm going this way and then I'm going this way and people are just like, no, keep going that way, keep going that way. So I have these buckets in front of me, but I can't see in front. I can only see the side, right and left. So I end up going through the atrium. And let me tell you something, man. The first time I walked in there, I'm looking up and I'm going, that beam, that beam that's like, 50, 60 feet. This thing is blown out over here. There was a restaurant on the left side, and guys just hanging out there smoking cigarettes and stuff, and everybody just looked depleted and exhausted. So I'm walking through, and it's darker, and I see this like on the right hand side. I see all these plastic bags, piles, and I was like, I don't even want to know what that is. I kept going, and I go to this knee wall, right? So I'm walking up to this knee wall, and I can only see right and left. So I take my buckets, I go over to the knee wall, and I put them down, and I just picked my head up, and it looked like Planet of the Apes. It looked like that very surreal when they saw the Statue of Liberty kind of thing. There's cars, ambulance, fire trucks, piles everywhere, and that was when I really was like, what am I doing here? And then all of a sudden I heard this huge horn, this friend, and then all I heard was run. And I took off. I just followed guys as they were running. And we went around the building and we started running back towards the river. And I mean, there was a bunch of us running. And long story short, where I had put the buckets, the front part of the facade had fallen on them. And that was my introduction to the World Trade Center.
There's a lot to say, but almost nothing to say. What I will say is that my very, very dear friend Bradley Flowers from Mobile, Alabama, has a picture of a buffalo on the wall of his office. And if you ask him why, he says, because the buffalo runs into the storm. While everyone's running out, the buffalo runs into the storm. I know at the time you didn't know the great impact that it would have on your life, on your hustle, and on your future. But still, as you say, my life forced me to confront identity, morality, fear, and reinvention head on. And I can't imagine what those days and weeks were like being there. And the fact that you ran and then went back again is true hustle. And I'm not even sure, I have a lot to ask you, and a lot to discuss, but I'm not even sure where to go with the episode from there. So again, I say thank you. I have to ask. I know that it impacted your health. I know that it seems like 25 years is a very long time, yet your memory seems crystal clear about many of the details. I have to ask if you would change it. If you could go back to the day that you just described, September 13th, 2011, would you change it? If so,
No.
yes. If not, why not?
No, it was the right thing to do. I've been in construction.
But knowing what you know now, right? Knowing what you know now, of course it was the right thing to do, but so many people turn the other way. So many people didn't. We all, very often in life, we know what the right thing to do is, and we're too scared to pull the trigger. So we're too scared to make it happen. Yet something else stands in the way, and especially when hindsight, they say, is 20/20. What does it mean when you think of that?
Do I have days where I'm like, I can't believe I did that and fucked my health? I can't believe I did that, and now I raised a daughter, my ex-wife. I mean, a lot of things happened in my life. They took my mid and lower lobe, my right lung out. I have Barrett's esophagus, and my throat closes. Have GERDs. with some bleed outs. Uh, I am who I am, so I can't say I wouldn't. I'll give you an example, and so I had come back. This is years later. I had come back from a medical exam, and I was with my wife, my ex-wife, and my daughter, and we're driving, and we're at this crossroad, and there's a car that literally was going like 2 miles an hour right through the intersection, and you could see this person is just like slumped over, and I I saw that people were going towards them, going towards this person, and I just drove around and kept on going. And my ex was and my daughter were like, "What are you doing, man? Like you pull over, you that's what you always do." And I was like, "I just came from this medical exam, and I did that one time, and what has it done to us? It's fucked our lives." And in that instant, I realized that I probably needed to stop, but I kept on going because of all the things that I was going through. Uh, do I think about, like, as I breathe, I could feel the pressure in my ribs. I can't feel my legs most of the days. I have peripheral neuropathy. I had to come down to Mexico to get my health back.
Can I quote you?
Sure.
Pain either fragments you or forges you,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that what you're saying?
Got to get your shit
Most
together.
people never learn how to use it. I did. It's an incredibly powerful statement. And your story is incredibly powerful. And it is the whole idea of keep hustling. It's about taking life, which is unpredictable, taking the parts of life that might be predictable, putting them together, and hustling through them. You say that you can't outperform an identity that no longer fits you. And that's where your work begins. Those who listen or the loyal listeners of this podcast have dreams in action that they're not quitting, their goals in sight that they want to reach. What is the first step in realizing that an identity no longer fits? And how can a person get to the moment of realization?
So the way I look at life is when I look in the mirror, um, life is about you versus you, and one of you fuckers needs to die, and you can't fill your cup up if it's full. So you have to pour into other people so you can learn more knowledge and create more wisdom, and it's going to be through your pain. Like we have to grow and win through our pain, and taking your life to the next level requires you to recreate a different identity for yourself. Like I look at myself as a 60-year-old guy, and I live in this studio apartment in Merida, Mexico, and I've alchemized everything in my life that it was ever thrown at me. I needed to rely on my old stories of being molested as a kid, drug addiction in my teens, bankruptcies, divorces, losing houses, cars, like whatever you can think of was thrown at me. And I've alchemized everything. I have no emotional attachment to any story in my life. And what I've been able to do for myself and I do for help other people with is recreating another identity. I got a book that I'm writing now. It's called The Shaman from Jersey, where I've alchemized everything in my life. And I've done it through a lot of plant medicine. I've done it through a lot of like meditation. Uh, yeah, I mean,
What do you think is the most misunderstood part of that evaluation process that a person has to do?
you got to look at yourself. You have to look at yourself as being accountable and responsible for your healing, not responsible or accountable for the things that have happened in your life, because that's based off of other people's experiences, right? So if somebody's talking shit about you, they're usually talking shit about themselves, and they're just conveying it in front of you.
It's interesting because you say that you helped identify the unconscious patterns that limit growth. And I guess the most important thing that you're saying about inspiring the hustle and keep hustling is that you have to, everybody has the unconscious. And many people don't realize that that's what's limiting their growth. And therefore, that identification is the first step, because I would assume most people who want to be healthy, who want to grow, when they identify that, they realize that it's limiting them. Is that the case?
So our subconscious, unconscious behavior runs 95% of our day. 5% of our day is run off of conscious behavior. So when you're thinking about something, that's only 5% of your day. So there's something called false positivity. So if you're thinking moonbeams and rainbows and life is so good, yet in your subconscious behavior, you have this story that's saying, hey, I can't pay my bills, my life sucks. The universe is going to, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is going to give you who you are, not what you're thinking about.
It's interesting you say that. I hark back to a quote that I once heard. I'm trying to remember who said it. But imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. And it's interesting because when you say that 95% of your day is driven by the subconscious, that leads me to believe that the subconscious is what leads to that imperfect action and what controls that imperfect action. And therefore, what's very important for people to do is to build those routines and that discipline that then drives those moments.
Exactly. You got to recreate your subconscious behavior. And a lot of people don't understand. Like what I teach is all about the reticular activating system and epigenetics. So we have something inside of us called the reticular activating system. Our subconscious thought does not know the difference between fantasy or reality, doesn't know the difference in time. So what I do with a lot of clients and mentees that I work with is I get a recall that's so horrific in their lives so they can actually feel the biochemistry change in their body. And then I show people how to regulate the biochemistry set within us. And one of the things that I've had to do for myself to get off all the drugs and shit that I was going through was to sit in my living room for like six years. Because I after they took my mid and lower lobe, my right lung out, I had the most horrific pain for 6 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I needed to learn how to not go through the morphine and Dilaudid and Percocet, Percodan, Oxy. At one point, I was taking 2,400 milligrams of gabapentin. 300 milligrams to knock out a horse. I was taking 2,400, and I was still attempting to function as a human. And I had an amazing experience one time living in the bush of Jamaica for 6 months, and this is before with somebody that was savant, my buddy Louis, and he showed me what the mind can actually do. And what I started to realize is I was doing these things ever since I was a little kid. I was blocking things out and still maintaining a functioning life as a kid, as a young entrepreneur. And I think about all like I said, I'm in this studio apartment in Merida, Mexico, nice garden. I sit back and I reflect on my life, and I I look at myself in the mirror sometimes, and I'm like, I recalled little boy, sad little boy, and I know the sad little boy is actually happy and proud of who I've become. So I've actually reflected on that sad little boy, and I'm very proud of all the things that he's gone through.
Maybe that goes to the question I asked before of would you change anything? Maybe that's the same mindset. The mindset is that if everything is a learning experience and an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to keep hustling, like it says above my head,
That's it, man.
then you realize that as you grow and as you evolve, that's where the real pride comes from, and that's where the real opportunity to become the best version of yourself and keep hustling is.
Everything is an opportunity. Like I look at myself when I run into obstacles, because I never have any problems. I've already had problems. I run into obstacles now, and the first two things I say is, I don't have cancer. Excuse me. And this is nothing to a fucking giant. And I am here to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. And I want people to wake up and realize that they don't have time. one of the wealthiest places in the world is a cemetery, because that's where those songs were never written, sung, the books were never written, those apologies were never given. And I believe, I got mentored by one of the best motivational speakers in the world. It became a Les Brown Power Voice speaker. And one of the things he told me as he was mentoring, he's like, Craig, man, you got this leg, man. All you got to do is stay ahead of the chalk outline. And it's one of the reasons why I'm here in Merida, in Mexico, because I can go to a naturista and get bags of herbs and that's frowned upon in the United States. I just had an email from Ben Shavat from 9/11 World Health today. Like, actually, what I was looking at when we first came on was that email, and I had sent him a message, and I was like, "Look, man, do I still need primary health insurance to get seen in a 9/11 World Health Center program?" And he sent me to the article, and it's like, "Yeah, you do." Okay, well, I left the United States in 2024 because it was going to cost me $1,900 a month plus a $10,000 deductible. You know what they want now? $3,900 a month with a $10,000 deductible, just because of all the health issues I have. I could fucking live down here for $1,900 a month and still be seen by doctors. Some of the best in the world, actually. People think Mexico's system is like antiquated. This is world class, state of the art medical. That's the only reason why I'm here. Plus, I became a permanent resident in 2010 or 11 or 12 when I originally lived here.
It's amazing. What have we missed?
As far as?
From your story, what have we missed that can inspire us?
I don't know. I used to say I'm just a knucklehead from Jersey, and if I could figure it out, anybody can figure it out.
That is why I'm inspired by your story. You say you're just a knucklehead from Jersey, but you're a knucklehead from Jersey who's evolved, gone through the adversity, helping others to get through that, kept hustling no matter what. I mean, the pain that you described, just the physical, forget about the emotional. The emotional, just forget about the physical. As you said, forget about enough to nuke or tranquilize an elephant. It's enough to make the elephant not want to get up in the morning, or anybody. I'm the strongest of men. So your story is one of persistence, of chasing the dream, of not giving up, and most inspiring to me, constantly evolving and moving forward and taking the positive out of those challenges and rebuilding yourself. So for that, I'm grateful that we got to spend this time together today.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I greatly appreciate you. As you know, Craig, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them in their hustle. So with that, I will turn the floor over to you and say thanks again for joining us.
Thanks. What I've come with, I've lived in different cultures, and lived in different places. What I've come up with, nobody laughs and cries in a different language. So just fucking be nice.
I love that. Nobody laughs and cries in a different language.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So this is my grand idea. I'm going to be taking an RV across the United States, and for the 25th anniversary of the World Trade Center, and I'm going to be doing some cancer awareness in 20 cities, and I'm just starting to announce this now. My plan is to roll up on 9/11 Good Morning America.
Well, good luck with that. Send me the information. We'll put it in the show notes. Look me up when you're in New York for sure. Thank you again for sharing your story. Yours is incredible, and I'm inspired by you, and you definitely inspired my hustle. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by, of course, and always keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.